Hello everyone, it's RASA VON WERDER from the University of Mother God Church, RASA VON, VONWERDER, University of Mother God Church. Website is womanthouartgod.com. I'm also known as Kellie Everts, the lady who strips for God and dances to save men's souls. Look for the website kellieeverts.com or istripforgod.com. Look for it's spelled Kellie Everts, KELLIEEVERTS. RASA VON WERDER is RASAW, VONWERDER. And my recent work for the last 10 years is the books RASA VON WERDER and Kellie Everts, books on Kellie Everts and RASA VON WERDER, Lulu.com, Amazon, and Barnes & Noble, Blurb, iUniverse, whatever, Lulu.com is where most of the books are. I'm reading to you today from a book of mine on biographical, I Strip for God, by RASA VON WERDER. I'm in a chapter about the Playboy Club in Chicago, where I was in 1978. 1978. And a lot of this, I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. I have not looked at these books or writings for years. And I'm suddenly looking upon them, and some of it is surprising me and startling me because I don't remember it. Thank God for diaries, because here we are. These are the diaries, my works came out of diaries that I kept. So, Samuel Pepys was a famous guy who wrote diaries that kept a lot of very interesting information. When was it? The late 1800s, early 1900s. An amazing documents, testimonies of him of things that were happening at the time. And I remember, I only remember one sentence from his diaries. And it was about a mansion that they built in England, which it was one of the Vanderbilt ladies who married the guy for his titles. They wanted titles, the Vanderbilts wanted titles. She married him, the guy, who had a title, Lord or whatever it was. And he had this mansion, which she then, as a Vanderbilt, they didn't have the money. As a Vanderbilt, she financed the upkeep, maintenance of the mansion. And Samuel Pepys wrote in the diary, I never saw something so big with so much littleness in it. Wow! I flipped. Now, I went to those mansions in Newport Beach. This was not about one of those mansions, but that was, sort of applicable to that. All right. Anyway, chapter 5, 6, 7, I Strip for God. 3 months at the Playboy Club. The publicity blitz. My publicity campaign started like this. The very first day I got into town, I think it was Thursday, I immediately bought... Oh, I said that. Okay. Okay, let me continue to where I left off. The main gist of my publicity started like this. I had a lot of Xerox copies of my meditations on the Rosary, as well as some other literature, and I decided to give it out on the street. On the street. The spot I chose was very close to the Holy Name Cathedral, which was a few blocks away from the Playboy building. It was freezing cold, about 8 above zero. Oh, that's cold. But I was determined to do this. The first Sunday, I gave out these papers for about an hour or so. The next Sunday, I stopped at a coffee shop for some coffee before hitting the streets again. A young, handsome black man befriended me, and he, while we were talking, offered to give out some of the papers. So we did it together. I don't remember this at all. I don't remember this. We had an appointment to meet the next Sunday at the same time, but didn't show up. I went at it alone, and while I was giving out my papers, I heard an inner voice saying, "Don't give out any more papers." I remember that very well. That must be the devil, I thought, and I kept trying to hand them out, but now no one would take them. About 10 people in a row refused me, and this was strange, so I stopped and said, "What do you want me to do?" to the voice, and the answer was, "I want you to go on every TV show you can, try to get into every magazine and newspaper and radio show you can. This way you will reach more people." And I said, "But who will want me?" And the answer was, "You haven't tried." I was determined to try. That was the light. The light is what I call God. The light, the light, the light. Giving me orders, and it made sense. I went into the cathedral to pray. I sat for a long time thinking and planning what I should do, anxious to get started. I started that very night. You must understand that I had some publicity in the past, some quite notable, but it was never a steady stream. After this campaign, it was to become a pattern, a career based on the term stripper for God. I give some credit to Bob Greene of the Chicago Sun-Times for coining that phrase, although he actually said stripper for Christ. A stripper invited me to her room, and it was just my luck that she was the stripper for Christ. But in actuality, the National Examiner first used that phrase in late 1977. I didn't even remember that. The girl who strips for God. I don't remember that. Thank God for diaries. That very night, I took whatever materials I had, copies of the recent Playboy article I had done, Humping Iron, and Xerox copies of other articles I had been in, and arranged everything. The next day, working hours, I started calling the TV shows. During working hours, I started calling the TV shows. The way I discovered what TV shows were in town that I could be on, I would call the program director of each station. First, I had to find out the names of the stations, and then ask the program director what shows were on that I could be on, talk shows, news type shows, etc. The programming director would give me the names of shows, the producers' names, and the telephone numbers and addresses. Now I had something to work with. This is very important to remember if you're working on publicity. I discovered they have to be systematic, thorough, and persistent. There was a method to my madness, I would say, and later my success will be my revenge. Here I am talking to a Playboy person, one of the people that sells the keys to Playboy, and this here little one was me, and when I first started stripping in 1972, and was a fruitarian, and I was 127 pounds. God, what I wouldn't give to be the 127 pounds right now. Kelly invades Playboy magazine. I also went upstairs to the Playboy magazine publicity department to find out if they could give me any help or advice. They were nice to me at first, but later they were very busy and didn't have time to get involved in my affairs. Actually, this is the only help they gave me. The head of the publicity department told me, answering my question of how to call back TV shows once I had submitted myself. They said, every day, call back every day. Go for it, girl! The editor of Playboy, Sheldon Wax, was more help than that. I went up to see him in person. I had faith in him because he had once done me a favor by phone. When they did the articles, Humping Iron, they forgot to mention anything about my ministry or the One World Light Church. I knew they did because they called me to verify the copy. I called Sheldon Wax, and he did me the big favor of putting this information into the playbill section in the front of the magazine. I knew he was a good person and was encouraged. I persuaded my friend Joy to go with me. Maybe she could get something out of it too. After all, she certainly was beautiful enough and sexy looking to be in the magazine. Joy went with me reluctantly, thinking it was no use. She didn't think I could get anything out of this either. Later, I made a believer out of her. To be continued.